Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of what we at Kahani Kancheti call Kahani Addas. Now, today's Adda is about a book by our friend Shantanu Datta called Calling Elvis. We will discuss more about the book as we go on, and we have a set of guests here who have already arrived and they are backstage. The author himself, Shantanu Datta, and our moderator for this evening will be Vivek Mukherjee. I will introduce them one as soon as I bring them in. And of course, we have the two legends who are already waiting backstage. I can see New Hilt and Nondon Bagchi. Just can't get better. Now, as far as Kahani Kancheti is concerned, it's a platform, a digital platform, and we have a website called www.kahani, it's Kahaani, Kancheti, spelled with a K, Kancheti.in, where you have book reviews, you have blogs, you have what we call talkies, and we have a photographer's corner, and we have a painter's corner, and all sorts of things, anything to do with performing arts, visual arts, literature, poetry, cinema, theater, music, as we are doing today. And we keep having these live chat shows twice a month, if not thrice a month. So please keep following us on our Facebook page. And please do two things: like our page, visit our website, and of course, follow us and keep giving us feedbacks as to how you enjoyed and what kind of programs would you prefer. So having said all that, and I can see the numbers are climbing very fast in terms of viewers. So, we have Pradipto Roy here. Hello, Pradipto. Nice to see you. You're here from Jakarta. I'm expecting a whole lot of friends. And incidentally, today we have on show three, I'm very proud of that. Please allow me that. Three Martinians who are on this show. So I'm expecting a whole lot of school batchmates, friends of all our Martinians to come in and join us today. So let me take you on. So first, let me introduce and bring in Mr. Shantanu Datta, because he's the author of the book and the reason for us. But before I go to Shantanu, I just want to say a very big thank you. One, to Speaking Tree, who have actually published that book and have collaborated with us for this show this evening. Second would be Tanu Dogra. Tanu, thank you very much for connecting us and helping us out on every way, even correcting some of our mistakes. And we hope to look forward to more such events with you. And of course, Arjun Ghosh, my friend and buddy, an advertising colleague, again from Kolkata, St. Xavier's College, and who has that most interesting email ID called ghoshgo@gmail. So that's Arjun, and Arjun had actually helped me to put me onto Liu. And thank you very much, Arjun, for doing that. And of course, there is Jamin, who actually is giving us a lot of help backstage and has been helping us to connect with Nondon for that matter. He himself has made a film on Bob Dylan's influence in Kolkata. Amazing. So there we are. Acha, Arjun Ghosh is here. Hello, Ghosh Go. Okay, so now Shantanu, I bring you in, and this is Shantanu Datta. Shantanu Datta, again, he and I share the same school tie. He, of course, went on to do presidency, and subsequently he started off as a cub reporter with the Telegraph. And I'm told the first assignment, or one of the early assignments he had as a cub reporter, was to have actually covered concert for Dilip. Am I right, Shantanu? That was one of your first assignments as a concert for Dilip. And then you went on to, then he goes to Delhi, Indian Express, New Indian Express, writes this book. He already has a column called Calling Elvis from the Dire Straits number. And then he returns to Kolkata and is working for Telegraph Online. This book was published in 2020 with Speaking Tiger. So that is Shantanu. And though the book is all about the rock bands in Kolkata, as also he has actually interviewed Roger Waters, to Carlos Santana, to Herbie Hancock, and amazing. and more will be coming up. So that's him. But he has also written extensively about the music scene in Kolkata, not just the rock band, not just the Great Bear and the High and Kolkata. I think that was the first batch. It is very well documented. Plus, I must tell you, it has some wonderful what do you call visual material, including a kind of a family tree of how the bands were there in 1966, and then how they broke up and they merged and they remerged. It's like a absolutely like a family tree. A lot of names that are cropping up over there. Two of those names are with us today. So please do read that book. It's amazing. I mean, it's very easy to read. You will love it. And by the way, he has started from Ogo Nodi Apon Bege Pagul Pada by Hemanto, being played on a record player, to Shubina Rai, to Punodash Baul, to Nirmolindu Chaudhuri, right up to Munida, that is Mohineri Khola, right? Very extensive. So that's Shantanu. Welcome to the show. And here we have Vivek Mukherjee, who has been a marketing guy, an advertising guy, and then he turns up into journalism. He's supposed to be an expert on hockey, the national sports of India, and he keeps traveling. And one of the things that he's now, he was the sports editor of Times of India, Chandigarh, and the sports, and he was the sports editor, and he was the editor of Sports Illustrated India. He currently works as a investigative journalist and has been an executive producer with NewsX. He, of course, has one great achievement, other than having traveled abroad. A lot of these, he has actually been through the Blue Trail, or whatever it's called, the BB King Trail, and has actually been to places in US where BB King played, the pubs and the restaurants. So that's Vivek Mukherjee. And now, of course, I bring in my two legends. So I expect. We expect, what do you call, like they say in the Shakespearean language, I shall bring them in with thunder and flourish, trumpet and flourish. That's the right word. So here is the trumpet and flourish is Mr. Liu Hilt. Trumpet and flourish. There you
Thank
are.
you.
Round of applause. And Mr. Nondon Bagchi, the third Martinian in this whole
Hi,
setup. Hi, Nondon. Welcome. Nice to see you. And everybody's here in. So what we do right now is that I have talked about, and there's one connection that I think all of us have in Kolkata. When we were in school, by the time, and this is, towards class 9, class 10, class 11, at least when I was in class 10, a lot of things happened in our life. One was our own batchmates in school, Robinson and Nielsen, cut a disc called Love is a Mango, number one. Number two, the Statesman came out with a publication called the Junior Statesman. And suddenly we were transported into something that we used to always think that happens in US. It was happening here, US or UK. And there was a man called Dabi Bhagat, if you all remember. And Dabi used to write a column called Discussions by Dabi, Discussion by Dabi. And with Discussions by Dabi, we were getting into all kinds of bands and brands. And then, of course, 1969, Woodstock happened. Suddenly, people in Kolkata were talking about, Sha Na Na. And somebody had even once told me that, do you know which is the label of Sha Na Na? So I said, no, boss, that I don't know. He said, it's called Buddha Records. I checked up and I found there was a label called Buddha Records which actually published Sha Na Na. So we were suddenly, and we used to love to call ourselves the Woodstock generation. As I said in our post, of course, there was Pancrane, there was Usha Iyer to Usha Uthup, and Nondon Bagchi and Liu Hilt. So we have a very deep connection with Kolkata and this music. So Vivek, it's all yours. Please do ask where to go about. Vivek.
First of all, good evening. Very good evening to all of you. Thank you, Shujit. Thank you, Shantanu. Thank you, Liu. Thank you, Nondon, and all those who are joining from various parts of the world.
Thank you.
It is in the fitness of things that this book has come out at the time when we are facing so much of uncertainty, and music has been one of those constant things that give us some sort of a sense of stability and a sense of kind of takes the mind away from a lot of the turmoil that we face every day and we have been facing, and especially 2020. Uh, before we go on to the book, and we go into the different aspects of the book, I think one thing must be said, that this book is couldn't have come at a better time, in the sense that what I feel, and I might be wrong, and I mean, Nondon and you stand me there to correct me, that there is a serious dearth of music literature in of India. I mean, in this country, and there is not much available on Indian music, Indian bands, and that is, while the book is great, it has got some excellent interviews with some of the biggest names in Western music and rock music. But I feel that the strength of the book lies in profiling the bands, the Indian bands and Indian musicians, and also the fact that it has documented. It's an important exercise of documentation of Indian music, I would say. Uh, that is one area that I think, I mean, it would be great if Shantanu can come up with an idea for a sequel for this book, which completely focuses on more details, or more detailed on the Indian music scene. I mean, at sometime in the future, whenever he finds the inspiration and has the material. So we will look forward to that. So now, coming to the book now, and in the fitness of things for this evening, uh, the book starts with a band called High. So I think we should all get high this evening. I will first, open the discussion by asking Shantanu. Uh, I know that you have borrowed this title from your column, Calling Elvis, but coming to the original title of Calling Elvis, which you used to write in the Indian Express, which I used to read, obviously. Could you just explain why did you settle on a name like Calling Elvis, and what was the thought process behind the name of the column called Calling Elvis?
Um, before I start, I just wanted to say that it feels great to be on the same stage and arena with Nondon and you and Sujit and you. It's wonderful. Before I say anything more on the title, if I'd like to just play a 2-minute video which is on the book, and it sort of just tells everybody who, for the benefit of the viewers, of what this book is about. So if I may just play that, and Sujita, if you could just help me through sharing the screen, and then we will start. So let's just bear with me. I shall start this right away. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There you are.
So,
Super.
That's
that's what the book is about. And now coming to Calling Elvis, when I now first of all, it's a damn good song. It just we one of those songs you love the first time you hear it. But after I got over that, when I paid attention to the lyrics, and which says something like "Calling Elvis, is anybody home? Well, tell him I'm just calling, just to wish him well. Oh, love, leave me, let me leave my number, Heartbreak Hotel. Oh, love me tender, baby, don't be cruel. Return to sender, treat me like a fool. Calling Elvis, is anybody home? Now, I think that's the ultimate fanboy letter to a musical genius, a legend who sort of has touched our life so deeply. And so when I started to think about it, I was instantly reminded how Ananda Shankar had played Elvis on his sitar, and it became one of the signature tunes to one of our favorite programs on All India Radio. So we realized that Elvis was just everywhere. Elvis is and the guys who whose music we heard, which is Dilip and Lou, Nondon and all. So it was so I think the sentiment of that song was something that got me. And it happened a long time ago in the 90s when I would write that column. And so I thought that this would best express the reasons behind the column. But subsequently, much later, now that I managed to put all these interviews together, I thought I should uh, name the book this because of the spirit with which these interviews were conducted. And I find it fascinating that that he went on to inspire a person like Ananda Shankar. Just think, he lived in Calcutta, growing up in this classical milieu, yet he finds the mind space and he is drawn to Elvis's tune to play his music on an Indian instrument. So nobody can do that. I mean, it's very. I can't think of anybody who has this kind of a reach, to sort of get into our hearts and minds with music. So that was the reason why I sort of chose Calling Elvis.
I mean, that's a statement about the kind of enduring legacy of Elvis, and which still continues. Even the musicians of this generation, the current generation, also continue to be inspired by Elvis. So now coming to the book, Shantanu, you begin your uh, begin the journey of your experiences, sharing the journey of your experiences, and with the high. And I understand that it had a very lasting impact on the band had a very lasting impact on your entire musical journey and understanding music. Any particular reason why you start the book with the high, that in that sense?
Well, I was in school and we used to listen to music, and music listening was something which we did at home, records with whatever we had, and then friends came up with albums, and I got like all of us, a friend had a Beatles album and we heard. But when I heard Hi, Dilip and Lou did a concert, the first time I heard them was at Kalamandir Basement, and that was in 1980 when they did a concert called Axis, and they played. There were just two of them. They had recorded music as backup, which they had played themselves earlier, and they did a little tribute to John Lennon. So that was what drew me and a few of my friends to go and listen. John Lennon had died the previous year, and then it was in the 80s. So one set of that, and after that, I don't remember which was first. They did play originals. They played, I think, the Tolkien suit and a White Knight's Tale. So that just sort of blew us away. And one, to be introduced to that kind of that grammar of music, which was fascinating, which was rock, which was a rock symphony. And number two, to sort of just purely amazed by the fact that there were a bunch of guys in our city who did music which was as good, as the stuff we were hearing on our record. That was a very simple thing. And this is a class 10, 12 guy, 11 boys, talking. So we didn't have much knowledge. It's just that we loved them. And from then on, I started following them to the extent possible, to the extent my mom would allow me to go and see these concerts. Then again, I remember them playing at the Calcutta School of Music uh, in the auditorium, and where they played only their originals. And that was a concert with Shubir, Nondon, Lou, and Dilip, and everybody. And that was again, I was introduced to more songs, more of their songs. And in between, there were other concerts where they did covers. And when they did covers, the the idea that sort of I now realize why I liked them so was that they were our window to the world of music. They would play Jethro Tull and they would play Jimi Hendrix, they would play Stevie Winwood, and I hadn't heard these songs before. And these are the songs I got introduced to them by hearing them, and we just got hooked to them. So I realized, and after High, there were other bands in Calcutta like Shiva, who did the same thing, and and I realized these bands had a lot to do with our sort of musical education. And I realized this now while writing the book, that a lot of the music that we got introduced to as kids was because of bands like High and Shiva, and more so High because then High went on to do their own music, which today is now thankfully on at least one CD brought out by HMV and Sarega. And I keep saying this everywhere I go, that that CD is in my music little cabinet of CDs and records, standing side by side with the legends of music, of say a Traffic album and a Deep Purple and a Pink Floyd, and then there is High. And somehow it's amazing to think that it's legitimately there. It's there because we love that music, and it's in the same vein. So one of the things that I really wanted to ask Nondon and Lou was that when you all did your set lists, what did you I mean, was it a conscious choice to not to choose songs that were common, or how did you all choose your songs? That's something which I would really love to ask Lou and Nondon.
Well, Lou first, because Lou was very much Dilip's right hand man. Even when originals came to be created, Lou was very much Dilip's support. So if you want to understand why we chose the bands and the songs when we were doing covers, okay, then Lou is the man who will be able to tell you better than me. I can say we wanted something that was not everybody's cup of tea. We wanted something a bit out of the way. And I can say that it had to be challenging and
Yeah.
a proper, difficult composition to tackle, you know,
Yeah.
not something that came easily. This much I can say. But Lou will tell you the rest about the people whose music we covered. Apart from our originals, we had a distinct.
We were
Oh,
different. It just happened that we guys were different. We felt differently about the music scene in Calcutta at that time. And Dilip being the main singer, I mean, he got to choose the songs. And it wasn't the conscious effort at all, It just came naturally to us guys. And Dilip would just say, okay, let's, and it took a lot of work and taught us guys a lot of, what we learned eventually playing that kind of tricky music. It was very challenging, like Nondon just said, but we didn't do it for the sake of being different. It just happened. The covers we used to do weren't, okay, Hendrix. Everybody did Hey Joe or Fire or something. But Dilip would choose songs like Up from the Skies, If a Six Was a Nine, Belly Button Window. These were very different Hendrix songs that were never. Really heard of. Okay, then it became a little more challenging in the sense that no band ever did stuff like Mountain, Colosseum, the tricky songs, Skellington, Lost Angeles, Nantucket Sleigh Ride, Allman Brothers songs, the tricky ones, not run of the mill, Grateful Dead. Our covers were, and with all that, suddenly he would just want to do a Jerry Lee Lewis song, Frank Zappa. So our covers, it was challenging for us guys at that time with the kind of equipment that we had, mind you. I remember one time Nondon was there. I mean, Nondon has been there right throughout. That we had this hippie guy in the auditorium. He heard us guys playing, and at the end of the show, he walked up onto stage and he said, "You guys did Grateful Dead. You all did Allman Brothers, Rolling Stones, Beatles, Frank Zappa, Mountain, Colosseum, all on this one equipment. I can't believe it." But it was a challenge for us guys to take up music like that. And I think that's what really led us guys to start moving in our own direction musically. Because, we had done enough of other people's music, and Dilip was the fire actually. Without Dilip, nothing would have happened. And I was lucky to have been with Mr. Louis Banks. So my theory had grown quite a bit on this side, where I could, help Dilip out in certain arrangements and certain lines. And I learned how to write music. So if he did something, I used to write it and we could play it exactly like that, which would freak him out. But gradually one song, then covers, two songs, then three covers, five covers, four of high, and gradually like this, we could fill Rabindra Sadan with what we used to call later on high heads with only original music, which was something to be, remembered really, that a single band had filled the entire auditorium. Like Rabindra Sadan is a very big auditorium. And and the satisfying part of the entire journey musically was when people used to shout our songs, not play a Pink Floyd, play a this, play a Rolling Stones. They wanted Shambhu, they wanted a Time to Get High, they wanted, all high compositions, and that was very fulfilling to us guys as musicians at that time.
Luke, you made a very, very interesting observation there that, and both Nandan, that playing original music, of course, it was one of the greatest strengths of or unique things about the aspect of I. The other thing which I was discussing with Shantanu yesterday was my observation when I first heard about I, heard I music, was that when you hear Dilip, you can't make out that he's an Indian voice. Other bands like Indian bands like that period also the Indiscreet and
They weren't
subsequently
around at that time.
80,
They came
83
later.
much later 83. So there you always get a sense of that somewhere that you get a feeling that this is an Indian band. But when you hear Dilip, you don't get a slightest feeling that it is an Indian singing. It could be a British band, it could be a American rock band, and that was one great unique appeal about that. That is what I observed. The second thing was about the original numbers. Now it must have been really lot of courage to step out of that comfort zone of covers, doing covers, and going into doing original numbers. What do you have to say about that?
Dilip and myself discussed this quite a bit. We discussed this a lot, which direction do we go in? And we guys used to ride and run away on weekends to Narendrapur, where Dilip had his own place. But we had also a very good friend who had a bagan bari there by the name of Dr. Anjan Roy. So we guys used to hang out over there for about 3, 4 days, just locked into this bagan bari, and just take our guitars, a 4-track tape recorder, coffee, beans, bread and butter, and just lock ourselves and let the music happen by itself. We never tried anything that we want to be like this or like that or like some other band. We just let it flow. And as it came out, if we found things that we could use in the future, we'd set that aside and keep working on that aspect of it, and gradually get Nondon to come in with the drums. Then Adi Irani, our guitar player in those days, he used to put the entire thing together, and there we had a song. And like this, we created our own material without even trying to be something else. We just let it flow and come naturally. And I mean, that's what it happened. I mean, all bands do that. They don't contrive to be somebody else or sound like someone else. It just has to happen naturally. And if that happens, I think you have something to a direction to move in musically.
Nondon,
Nandan,
you were saying
you were
something?
saying,
No, I think I was trying to say that uh, when the two of them were together, like Dilip had the song, the embryo of the song was there, but he leaned a lot on Lou to, and this comes out in Shantanu's book nicely. He depended a lot and used Lou as a sounding board to get the songs together. And without these beautiful inputs and this double chemistry, which was just by the grace of God that these two people had the similar kind of mindset, that all these songs were born.
So before we move on, why not
Like
play a
Ron,
track? Let's sort of play a track of Hive, a short 2-minute clip which I've sort of created, and then we will talk again about Hive.
I could not get to see you. You know I was a bunch. I followed you around the world in the press, on the radio, on TV. It's you, it's the charge out of me. It's you, it's the charge out of me. If you work for a living, I'm doing my honestly. And you can tell me you want to help people, including me. And I saw all the gamblers playing by the rules. A funny game and a loser was always me. And if you lose with charge, you're everything. If you lose with charge, you're everything.
Wow.
So I mean that there's a lovely words, you know. I climb every mountain, I sail many seas. I could not get to see you. You know, I heard about you so much. I followed you round the world, in the press, on the radio, on TV. Is it you who's in charge out here? That must bring back a lot of memories, Nondon.
No, and there's a sense of humor in the songs, you know.
Okay,
Most of the songs, 90% of them, there was a nice little twist of humor, a little joke being shared within the band and in the lyrics. And so it was a package. Each song was like a nugget, you know, on its
yes.
in its own right, with all the facets and all the colors that you
Mm.
can think about was there. Is it you who's in charge out here? I climb every mountain, I sail every sea. There's a lovely touch of humor running through the song where he's actually taking a little bit of piss about this wonderful lady. And
Okay,
he's the only guy I have come across who can come up with lyrics like that.
right.
And every song was a songwriter's gem. He was in the highest class of songwriting internationally.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And it's fantastic that here we are sitting together, listening to it, agreeing that he was, in fact, of international standard as a songwriter, and the instrumental body, he depended on Lou so much, you know. And then, of course, Lou has a song which is all his own, lyrics and melody and everything. So
Right.
they were a good partnership, and I knew they were in Narendrapur, but I had other commitments. I couldn't go. But when we got together, it was a real jamboree. We just had such a lot of fun putting it all together.
Lou, some of
So,
your.
yeah, please go ahead, Shantanu.
No, I was just asking Lou if he has something to say about that song, if anything comes back to him.
It, I mean, every song is the genius of Dilip Balakrishnan.
Right.
I mean, it was his sense of melody, firstly, and his lyrics to back it up. He was a guy that sang in perfect pitch, whether we had monitors or not. Which was it's quite something to be able to sing in pitch
Right.
without having a lot of and I've seen a lot of singers who cannot sing unless they have proper monitors, but Dilip had this inbuilt monitor system where he could hear himself, and he was incredibly in pitch no matter where we played, whether it was the northeast where equipment was mediocre, sometimes even bad, but yet Dilip's vocals carried everything. and his sense of I mean, his lyrics, like Nondon just mentioned, they're up there with the best. And situations, he would capture certain situations, like I mean, a song like "Politician," or
Right.
"A Time to Get
Yeah.
High," you know, "A Place in the Sun." I mean, you could just carry on. I mean, it's
And importantly, sorry to interrupt, Lou.
yeah, yeah,
Importantly, everyone can relate to those songs.
yes,
Any A huge spectrum of human beings on this planet, if
yes,
they hear those songs, they will relate to those songs in a
yes.
personal way. Now, that is a trait of a true God gifted songwriter.
Genius. According to
Absolutely.
me, Dilip was a genius. There's no doubt about that. And it's not only just it's not the joy. It was such an honor to be with him through all this, and to just help him out here and there, wherever. But the thing is, I could never let him down because of his sense of melody and his wanting to be, you know, the songwriter, and I gave it, 120% of whatever I had musical knowledge, just to give him that entire backing that I could give him right throughout all our days that we were together in high.
So coming to both you, Liu and Nandan, what kind of a impact did the music of High leave on the Calcutta music scene subsequently when the after Dilip passed away and the band got disbanded? So, I'm told that it left a lasting legacy and a lasting impact and inspired a lot of younger uh, bands that came out after High. They were took a lot of inspiration and a lot of education out of High.
The most beautiful thing about high is it showed the way that yes, it can be done. A band doesn't have to be a cover band and play somebody else's music. High showed the way that it is possible for Indian bands to create their own style of music, their own lyrics and everything, and yet get across to people. It's not just Kolkata, because I meet a lot of old friends of mine that, I've traveled quite a bit all over. When I joined Shiva, I traveled quite a bit all around the country. But wherever I went, be it Bombay, be it down South India, be it anywhere Northeast or wherever, they always remembered a band from Kolkata called High. And that's incredible if we got across to all these kind of people. Even the ones that have gone abroad, who have, immigrated to Australia, Canada, wherever, UK, they still remember High. We must have done something good.
Okay, Liu, on that point, Shantanu, if I may just interrupt you, Liu
Right.
was mentioning about people who have left Calcutta and are all over the world. I have a surprise guest today who has said that his interruption is going to be most enjoyable. He is one of those, as you said, were from Kolkata, now settled abroad, working abroad, but still think of high, is somebody you all know. He is our friend. He calls himself Dick the Bugger. I mean, that's what he is. He's Prodipto Roy coming in all the way from Jakarta. It's a
Yes,
surprise entry,
Good
and
Lord,
that's
Tiku.
Mr.
one of
Bagchi,
the
Mr.
terrible
Hilt,
quits.
Hey,
how can
Tiku.
you do a show
Hey,
Hey,
man.
in the
Dick,
evening when I am not
Incredible.
there? How can you do
Incredible.
that? How are you, my brothers?
Okay, we're all good.
how are
We're all
you?
good.
All very good,
Wonderful.
Nan. All very good. Sorry, Shantanu, I had to interrupt.
No,
Uh,
no. Why sorry? Why sorry? We go back a
and
long way.
for
Sorry.
me to
Yes.
see Lou and Nan talk together on music and discuss Dilip, it's just a dream come true. I mean, this is incredible, incredible. It's just so
Good.
good to see you, gentlemen.
Good to see you, Tiku. After all these years, man. We went through a
Yeah,
lot. You were in the audience and you remember it.
Yeah, I
So
was telling Shujit, I have never paid for a single ticket to watch
no,
any high show. We were the backstage boys. My pick the
yes,
bugger and tick the bugger, right?
yes,
To,
yes,
to get me
Always
in the
been a
band. And
yes.
similarly, I've done a backstage entry and disturbed this show today.
Hey, Uncle Tiku.
Hey,
Yeah,
remember,
yeah.
remember,
Just
this
say
is Boo
hello.
Boo.
And
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, this is Roma.
Hi, Roma. Of course, we remember
Nice to
you.
see you.
So
okay,
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Man, I'm so happy for you all. I
I'm
got
so
to meet
happy
Piku
to
in
see
between.
you.
I tell you, these guys are
Wonderful,
insane.
wonderful, wonderful to see you all after so long and see that y'all
I,
are looking really well and happy. I'm so
who's
happy.
that speaking?
I'm so happy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
really happy
gentlemen.
to
Yeah,
see you.
please go on with the
Okay.
show. Just to say, with you, always with you, and love you guys.
Lou, it's so nice to see you. And Don, hugs, 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 hugs.
Beautiful, beautiful. Happy New Year. This has really been a happy
Happy
Okay,
New
New
happy
Year.
New
Year.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Okay, back to the show,
Okay.
guys.
You
Okay.
did.
That was a
Thanks. It
great
was a
pleasant
great
surprise.
surprise.
Beautiful.
I'm sure that was a great pleasant surprise. Thanks, Pradipto, for the last minute pact that we had. And there we are. And we now move on back to Acha. And before we again move out, there is a request from Arjun Ghosh. This
Yes.
is what he says. He says, "Your song, Luke, waving my hat is not far behind too." There you are. Okay. Some more comments are running. You all carry on. I'll keep playing those comments as we go along.
Shantru, coming back to the book, and it is that one of the things that one gets a sense is reading the different chapters is that strong partnerships in music, like for example, over here in High, the partnership between Dilip and Liu. Then you talk about in different places, Ravi Shankar and Alarakha. Then partnerships, for example, between Dr. L. Subramaniam and Jean-Luc Ponty, Anderson, Ian Anderson, Martin Baer. I mean, and for example, the Dylan and the band. So, I mean, there are always been all these music and musicians and bands who have an everlasting impact, like even Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. They always survived on some. I mean, the partnership was very important aspect of their music.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And it just so
Can I say
happens.
something? Can I say
Yes, please,
something here? The
please.
most important thing about a partnership is the understanding of each other, the direction that we want to go in is the understanding. And that's the most beautiful thing between Dilip and me. We never questioned each other at any point of time in our entire lives musical career. And it's
Right.
it's you know it's a loss. It's a loss to all of us actually, man.
And
Because
even when
Dilip
the whole
was way
band,
ahead.
even when the whole band plays the song, it is the chemistry of
Yes,
the people
yes,
that is so important.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Yes. This partnership, in fact, in our conversation, you, if you remember, you also mentioned Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. Why?
Yes,
And when you were describing your partnership with Dilip in
yes,
terms of,
yes,
so the understanding is foremost, and there is. I remember while talking to Ian Anderson and Martin Barr.
yes,
These conversations were held separately, but when they were in India in 1994 to play, and I had just gone there and managed to speak to them. And
yes,
Martin Barr was saying that how difficult and how interesting also at the same time it was for him to do the fill-ins and the lead of Jethro Tull in a song in the concept of when, because if you know Tull, every song has a flute.
yes,
So how does he play the guitar in between the flute? Does he play after the flute? Does he sort of create the soundscape for the flute to improvise on, or is it the other way around? So I think Ian and Martin had this great chemistry and great understanding of music. And Tal music is very complex.
Yes,
It's
yes,
complex. Jethro
yes,
Tull music is very complex. And there is an underlying classical kind of sensibility in their music. So
yes,
Martin Parr and Ian Anderson, who used to
yes,
sing and play the flute, and in that context, just imagine the 12 songs and every single riff is identifiable. Every single riff is an institution by itself. You
yes,
think of our most famous song. So I think just partnerships are quite amazing, and then they sort of help bring out the best in each other.
yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Because Dilip would come up with a set of chords, and it was my contribution had to be a bass line that would lift it up and not let just play something arbitrarily. It had to have meaning, add meaning to what he was trying to get
It
across.
had to make sense out of that
Yes,
progression of
yes,
chords.
yes.
Yes.
It
And
had to
Because of Dilip, sorry,
fit
Non, just give
them.
me a moment here. Because of Dilip, I became a bass player that started thinking about bass lines. Because I think I've written it in the chapter which I've written, where if Dilip played an A minor chord, and I used
Right.
to just play an A, and he would say, "Man, what are you just going to play A? That's it. How about playing a couple of other notes to sort of give it some sort of form or some meaning?" And that's when I started creating bass lines. Without Dilip, all this would never have happened to me. It opened up an entire horizon for creating bass lines for me.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Nondan, you were continue with that. What you were trying to say?
What was I saying?
About partnerships, you were saying that
Partnership.
Yes, I
the
mean, the songwriters put the song in front of five people altogether, or four people minimum, and even there, the chemistry matters such a lot that the people who wrote the song put it in front of three other people, and then five of them make magnificent sense out of what was written by two people.
right. Right.
That's the
Absolutely.
magic of a band together.
Right.
Sure.
Whichever band you think about. The Dead was such a big band.
Yeah, true.
The songwriters were two, or sometimes one, but yet it sounded as if everybody's heart and soul was throbbing to that song.
Yes.
That's it.
Another
There is
another example maybe of
There is a message from Tejan Balakrishnan. We all might like to read this.
oh, that's
He's the
wonderful.
son of
That's
Dilip.
wonderful. Yeah. It says, what a lovely, lovely evening. And a big hug, Liu Hilt, Nondon Bagchi. Here is a grainy recording from way back when the Legends in action. I don't think I can play this on this system, but that link, I will have it passed on. And thank you for joining us, Tejan. And there is Kanishka. Banerjee saying that being a live rock talent is till date a challenge for many, but it's the legions like you, all budding talents of today, still have the courage, hope, and almost as much passion. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's carry on with the chat. Yeah.
Before we move on to what Vivek was saying, just another line. I can think of another band, of course, Beatles, and you know of the great collaborations. But I want to talk about the band with Robbie Robertson. He was the writer of the song. But that is a band where the chemistry of all of them, Rick Danko, Richard Manuel, Levon Helm,
Yes.
and others, the way they, so I see a lot of parallels in the way you guys worked and the way they developed the song, the writing, and then you sort of embellished each and every note and tune. And so I think that's the beauty of being in a band. That's just the sheer joy of being in a band.
We guys actually, Nondon, myself, and Dilip, three of us really, and Adi also, because Adi had some other work. Okay. But Adi was another freak. But we guys practically lived together musically. I mean, that's all that we lived for. I remember the time when we guys had to go for rehearsals to R.D. Irani's place on Madan Street. Normally guys are late and things, but for some reason, we guys would actually get there early just because we wanted to play together. We would actually be early and had to ask the ayah for the key to the next door flat, open it, and start. That was the beauty. We just wanted to live what we dreamt about, what we had been thinking about. We just wanted to play together. It was the one time in the day where we could actually be ourselves
And it
together.
brought out the best in
Yeah.
Artie, because
Yes.
Artie had the bass that we, Lou, Dilip, myself provided. He could be like a virtuoso guitar player in his own right.
Yeah. Shantanu, another aspect that I want to discuss with you and with all of you over here, and that also comes through through the various interviews like you have done with Roger Waters, Ian Anderson, and even R. Lagathri, is that they had a very deep understanding and also were acutely aware of the politics that was going around them. I mean, they wrote their lot of their even Ian Anderson. He talks about the his songs talk about the politics. So I mean, usually when you think of legends and mega stars, they tend to live in a sort of an isolated bubble away from the realities of life. And like even some of the high songs, there were definite political overtones. So I mean, uh, through your interactions, can you explain how do they? I mean, they are such big stars, but they are so acutely aware of what is going around them.
Right. The first person that comes to mind is Roger Waters. When I spoke to him, and I I realized then that a lot of the politics, a lot of the cerebral and all the elements of the Pink Floyd music that is there came from Roger Waters. He was the writer. He was the creative spark in that sense, the writing part of it. So, and he told me a very interesting thing. He said, all through my life, uh, uh, and it was a big, huge quote. I don't remember the whole thing, but it's there in the book. It's the essence of it is that the core of all that I've written within these few lines, which he said was that will when will the human race realize that it has to make a choice? I'm not saying it correctly, but basically what he meant was that the human race would have to make its choice on two very simple parameters: whether they become better people and they go on to live better lives, or they do not. That was a essence, that question that he sort of posed, and he said that every single thing that he wrote was about that, and he felt a lot of empathy for all the his songs are very political. He wrote about his governments, he wrote about Thatcher, and the great song about the wall. The entire album, The Wall, is a political statement, which is so relevant today. So, and yet, when I spoke about politics to Arlo Guthrie, whom I met in Delhi, that's another story. How he sort of ended up in Delhi and played. He was pretty, candid and open about it, and he said that yeah, that's fine that you write. He wrote this huge song called Alice's Restaurant, which is a huge satirical song against the U.S. Army. And I asked him whether he ever got into trouble for doing that song. And he said, funnily enough, one of the largest sales of that album comes from Army people, the U.S. Army and the vets. They love the song. So he says that being political and being humorous, it's always good never to cross the line, and your sarcasm should not be something that hurts the others. And I thought that's a very simple thing. You are not larger than the cause that you are choosing to fight. And he said that that's the mistake right wingers and left wingers always tend to make, that they think themselves to be larger than the causes they are fighting against, which I think is a fascinating way of looking at it. He had his feet firmly on the ground, and all these artists, I think, they always had their feet firmly on the ground. They were big stars. Music was the way they let out steam and they wrote, and but they were very rooted in what they wanted to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sujit, go ahead, please.
No, I was just wanting to know that the story of Arlo Guthrie in Delhi, and Shantanu, when did this happen? He playing in Delhi, since I also stay in NCR, I had no real clue that such an event had actually happened.
Around in 1998, and there's an interesting story. At that time, the U.S. ambassador was a gentleman by the name of Richard Celeste, and I asked him, and so he said that Richard Celeste, when he was the governor of Ohio, had once invited the Weavers, Pete Seeger, Arlo, and the Weavers, and of which a younger Arlo Guthrie was a part of, to come and play at his residence at Ohio. And why did he do that? He did that to undo a damage caused in the 40s during the McCarthy era, when the then Ohio governor, canceled the concert of the Weavers, because it was then Pete Seeger was said to be this leader of communists, and then during the McCarthy era, as you know, they were. So when he went and played at Richard Celeste's house in Ohio, that's when they became friends. And when Richard heard that he was going to Australia to play, he told him to sort of drop by, and the concert was in the US ambassador's residence. It was a fantastic show, and he started off by saying that, boy, this would be something if my father was alive to see me playing at the residence of the US ambassador, which was just fascinating. This was in 1998. I happened to be in Delhi then. I was lucky, and sort of I got to talk to him. Fantastic man, great sense of humor, and again, very rooted, very rooted.
Another interesting thing, observation that comes through from reading the various stories that you have narrated is the amazing longevity of some of these bands. Like Tull is still performing, was performing till very recently. Now apparently Ian Anderson has been diagnosed with some kind of a health issue. Then Rolling Stone, then musicians like John McLaughlin, and closer home like Louis Banks, Ranjit Barrow. They have been playing for ages. What do you make? How do you make a sense of these things? What is the key to their survival, and what did you understand from talking to them over the years?
Yes, this was something that actually got me writing the book. I couldn't fathom the fact that these are granddads. They are all granddads that playing rock star granddads, and sort of going on to play. I just think they have incredible energy, and they have a spark, and after all, it's music. They are lucky that they've been able to do that, and their music still speaks to us like it did when they wrote it decades ago. So I think that's the first connect, and that the music still touches us. People like us, people who are younger than us, and so it sort of encourages them to try and continue and do something new. So I know till very recently, even I remember hearing Nondon at DI about a few years ago when he was playing with his band, and knew Hilt still plays occasionally. So it sort of, I guess, it just doesn't ever leave you. And an incredible story about Peter Frampton. Last year, Peter Frampton, as we know, he's diagnosed with a debilitating disease, a gradual degeneration of his bones. It's called myositis. I'm not too sure of the name. So he went on a world tour last year before things get tough for him, and he pulled it off, and it was a great concert. He did a superb tour of the states, and so I think it's just the music that keeps him young mentally and fit and agile and raring to go. It's you're right. It's amazing. It's an amazing. They're just inspirations. You look at them and then you think of yourself as old. You try not to think of yourself as old.
Yeah, and and I guess a sense that they at some level they are extremely disciplined when it comes to music, no matter how much a bohemian lifestyle they might be living
Right.
in other in their other parts of their
Correct.
existence. But I'm sure, I mean, Nandan and Lou, I would like to add on this that making music it requires a lot of discipline. What do you have to add to that?
It does. It does take a lot of discipline, really. There is a time in your life when you just want to jam, and I mean, we've all played with great musicians. But then there comes a time when jamming, you got to have some sort of direction and some sort of form or arrangement to a song. You just can't keep jamming on two chords the whole night.
Correct.
You have to channel it somehow or other, and that's where actually creating a song actually comes to the fore. Is
A
that you
good
take the best part and let's make a song out of this. Let's make another song out of this part, and not just play the entire thing like a big khichuri. And at the end of it all, you just don't feel like what did we do that for? There has to be some sort of form and direction to a song,
a
and not
good
just jam what we did in the old days. We just jammed all night. That's what
yes,
high
Nanda.
came out on top.
A good song is like a story.
Right.
There is a beginning and a middle and an end, and it does have something that you take away with you in terms of meaning and message when you've finished hearing the song. A good song should do that to people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do we have time for a song, another song, Sushita? Can we just play something, or should we just
Yeah, yeah.
continue?
You can play a song. After that, I have only from my side, one question to ask you about the book, of course. So you can please
Okay.
play the song because I think
Is it
everybody is
okay? Should we
waiting.
just go into a song, a short 2-minute clip, maybe of a Jethro Tull song or something?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Please do. Go ahead.
Okay.
Of course you
Okay.
can.
Who's going to do it?
I'll just play something.
Yeah, play it.
Come out, I'll give you last night. Let me come with my ear. Let your change the right. When the ladies send from October. Yeah, but the change from the bar. And then just take my forever again. Give me some direction. That's good. But that's just way. Sing to us someday, honey, this song. Tell us what the gonna be. Yes, it changes in the pattern of the sky. I'm going to say, don't play.
Great, great, super.
I
Okay, yeah. Who
I
was
was
saying?
just reading out two lines from the song. Good morning, weathercock. Make this day bright. Put us in touch with your fair winds. Sing to us softly. Hum evening song. Point the way to better days we can share with you. I think it's a wonderful
Yeah,
line.
it is. It is. Okay, Shantanu, just a couple of from my side. I have one agenda to talk to you. You know, being in Kolkata from 1990 from 1966, sorry, 65, 66, when I came here from Lucknow. One great thing was that batchmate Nondon, and then we had Gyan Singh, the late Gyan Singh, same batch we passed out, and I used to hang around in his rehearsals later. And then in '76, I think I first experienced international star with Cliff at Kalamandir. A lot of people, I say that Cliff actually played live, and they say no, he never did. Actually, he did. We went to listen to him, and then of course came 1980, 81 OC Bisa, whom my friend Bapi Basu, and since we didn't know much about OC Bisa, our advertising colleague, the great Bapi Basu, was asked that who's apparently seemed to know. So we asked him, who is this OC Bisa boss? We don't know. And actually, I was handling the HMB account, so there were a lot of posters and all were happening. And as you know, Daku a potato, whatever was the. And then Bapi said very cleverly, he said, actually, it's a poor man's Santana. And we thought that that was a very perfect example, though we were not very sure as to who they were. But then, of course, I had heard Tal in Mumbai. I think that was, I think, in 2005. But the one that I was dragged into, and I was told, come, cholo. So I said, where? We went to Robindra Sadon. And here was a Bangla band playing. We had not heard of Mohine Rupra. And Monida and Gautam Chatterjee and Ranjan. And so therefore, first initially I thought it was all crazy, you know, bong, jazz and whatever. And then I remember vividly that the guy who was playing the cello, he collapsed on the stage with the cello. So that was the first Mohin. And, you know, but then by the time the concert got over, many of us thought, who were the reluctant ones to go and listen to them, were dragged in. But then we realized that, hello, what did we hear? Isn't this something, you know, something new, a Bangla jazz or whatever that was being later termed? Now, Mohin, of course, had a great impact subsequently in the Bangla music scene, whatever. Go ahead and tell us something about this. You know, subsequently, I think you have interviewed Bhumi, and then we have now so many of them. The influence of Mohin and his
Well,
ghoras.
yes. Mohin was I personally got introduced to Mohin when I was in college, and there were guys who would sing the song, and then another band, Nogod Philomen, which was a band that was formed a little later, and they would sing a couple of Mohin's songs, and I really took to the songs. So while during my research and ultimately in the book, I get to speak to one of the Ghodas, Taposh Bapi Das. He was not the founder, but he was a bit of a, the Sancho Panza to the big man who was Monida. So Monida was the boss of the band, and in many ways they were what High was doing with the kind of music they were doing, which is Western influenced and English rock songs, original. Monida would they would be imagining rock songs in Bangla, and it's very strange that and maybe one day I need to find out a lot more because they were around more or less at the same time. And Taposta, of course, says that yes, of course, I know Nondon and Lou and Dilip. We were very, we felt intimidated by them, not because of anything, but just that they were such great musicians, and and we had, we used to cut plastic sheets and try and make plectrums out of them, whereas these guys had their own guitars, and they were sort of objects of envy. But Mohin was something, it's a band that was way ahead of its time, and the writing was again in Bangla, very new, very fresh, and they did not want to do Bangla songs that were at that time popular, which was steeped in mushy romance, and it's about guys, wooing girls and things like that, and they made it a point not to do that kind of music. So they did their, and they were in the 70s, and Monida was also deeply influenced by the turbulent 70s because he was a sympathizer with the Naxal movement that
Well, he
happened
was
at
in
that
jail.
time. He was in jail,
Was
and
in
a
jail.
lot of ideas happened when he was in jail.
Yeah.
And in fact, I have a
Right.
song I want to play for you guys from Mohin, and it says "Kotha diya na bondhu phira na aila, e kemon kotha." Now, Bapida told me, while talking that, this is a song that everybody loved and liked, and everybody mistook it for a love song. It's about that. That's the first thing that you sort of reach out to. But then it was actually a song about a promise not kept, which I believe now he was alluding to this great revolution that they hoped would happen, that great change that they would usher in, by doing the stuff that they believed in. But that didn't happen. So there's a lot of sadness in the song, but it's a lovely piece of music. And they were one of the first to cut a disc. They had to borrow money, and then there's a fantastic story about how they cut a 45 with two of their songs. And their songs are anthems for Bangla bands even today. Any Bangla band concert is not complete when one or two of their songs are played. They have a very popular song called Hey Bhalobasha. I will not play that, but I'd like to just play 2 minutes of the song which I spoke about Kotha diya bondhu phira na aila, e kemon kotha. So let's just listen to the song.
কথা দিয়া বন্ধু ফিরা না আইলা এ কেমন কথা হায় কি দশা কথা দিয়া বন্ধু ফিরা না আইলা এ কেমন কথা হায় কি দশা কানে বাজে তোমার কথা আর বুকে বাজে তাই ব্যথা গানের কথা বুকের ব্যথা হইয়া আমার প্রাণে জাগায় যে হতাশা হায় হায় সব হারাইয়া কান্দিত আশার চলনায় বইটা গিয়া আজি পথে বসিলাম কবে তুমি ফিরায় আসিবা বন্ধু রইলাম তার আশায় হায় দুরাশা কবে তুমি ফিরায় আসিবা বন্ধু রইলাম তার আশায় হায় দুরাশা
Well, I think that's a lovely way to end this program, paying tribute to Mohinir Ghoda and Monida and everything and the entire ethos. And but nice of you, Shantanu, to have played this song at this point of time. Well, we have almost done well over the 1 hour that we were supposed to have chatted. But then look at the popularity.
I actually wanted to play another song for you guys and end it, but if there's no time, we shall not play it. We will do it some other day.
We'll do it some other day. And as somebody just commented that, like Nondon has said, that every song, good song, is a story. Is a story. Somebody just commented that here is a song that we just heard is a good story. The one that you played just now, that itself is a wonderful story. So I think I'm sure all our viewers who have been here with us today, and I'm sure you'll have enjoyed this session. And of course, Prodipto in Jakarta for that, what do you call that, cameo role that you played today. I'm sure everybody enjoyed that. So did you. I'm sure this book is going to do very well. Shantanu, on behalf of all of us, we are wishing you and Speaking Tiger the very best, because we think this book is something that all of us must read. That's the book. Thanks, Nondon. There's the book coming up over there. Thank you. And well, how do you thank Nondon and Liu Hilt? Hiltuda, as he's now known all over Kolkata.
There he is.
And there is a request for Liu to actually sing a few lines as an ending. But that's again, requests keep coming up. Arjun Ghosh was making a request for you to sing something back. So this is absolutely a magical adda. And if we can manage that, but I think it was very nice of both of you all to have agreed to join this and talk full time. It's absolutely brilliant. Vivek, as I keep counting on you all the time when something like this happens, you have been with me on BB King and the Blues. We have had 1 hour session, or little more, 90 minutes on discussing 50 years of Woodstock for another platform that I was attached to earlier. And in that platform, of course, we played a lot of numbers from Woodstock. And next day, I almost got a notice from whoever saying that next time you play these numbers on your program, you're going to go behind bars. So, of course, we had to use the 4-letter word and leave it over there. So that is what it was. So any last songs to come up?
I just wanted to say a big thank you to you first for spending so much time with me.
And it's been a pleasure.
Orijit's house, we had a long conversation.
Yes.
And that's how this entire story of the high sort of came alive in front of me. Thank you so much, Lou. And thank you, Lord. You know, both
it's been wonderful. And one last, I just have to say one last thing.
Please do.
Here's to Dilip Balakrishnan forever.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I also want to
Absolutely.
because, you know, Nondon, you're an institution of our city, and all of us who've seen you play, you've inspired us, and in many ways, you know, we just love you. We love you. We love High and Dilip, and his music will live on. And you know, we're going to listen to his songs, and that's how he will live in our hearts, and so will High. You guys will always be in our hearts. That's the only thing that I want to say.
Absolutely.
Thank
Good.
you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Shantanu, Vivek, Nondon. We catch up. Liu, we catch up when I'm back in Gurgaon. There we are. Thank you very much.
Vivek.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
And to my viewers, this program is going to be uploaded on our website. So you can, those of you all have missed it, your friends, you can tell them to go to www.kahanikancheti.in. This is going to stay there, and we will have more such programs. Please keep in touch with us. We will keep in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nondon. Thank you, Liu. Thank you, Shantanu.
Thank you.
And thank you, Vivek.
Thank you.
Great show.
Thank
Great
you.
show, buddy. Thank you.